On a stormy night, somewhere in the White-Collar Strait, a fishing boat was slowly pulling in the net. The man pulled the rope and a large number of sea fish poured out. At this time, they found an unknown object moving slowly under the pile of fish. Just as several people slowly approached, the unknown object suddenly attacked. The frightened people hurriedly picked up the harpoon and axe. Facing the unknown creature in front of them, they seemed extremely nervous. The three people slowly looked forward. The unknown creature suddenly flashed out and knocked the man in yellow away. The two people used the harpoon to drive the unknown creature into the cabin. Seeing the injured crew, the captain hurriedly turned on the communicator to call for support. At this time, a strange voice came into Section 2. Just as the artist was about to open the cabin cover to check, a helicopter suddenly appeared. Several armed men quickly landed on the deck. After pulling the injured crew onto the helicopter, the captain directly opened hatch door looking at the unknown creature in the cabin. The captain didn't seem surprised. He ordered his men to control it with a tranquilizer gun, then put it into a special field and disappeared into the night with the unknown creature and the injured crew. This is on the sea not far away. A strange fishtail slowly dived into the sea the next day. In a mysterious military base, the bald man was reporting to his superior. They walked into a laboratory. A large fish tank was holding a strange-looking beauty. The crew in the bar told Jack about their experience. They wanted Jack to find the companions taken away by the military, but Jack, who worked at the Marine Research Center, didn't believe what they said. Just as Jack was on his way back, a girl suddenly appeared in front of him. Luckily, Jack stepped on the brakes in time. The girl was disheveled, naked, anxiously wanted to escape. Strangely, such a big girl can't walk well. Liang fainted after walking a few steps. Jack had to put clothes on the girl and helped her into the car. Looking at the girl with shortness of breath, Jack immediately contacted the doctor to go to his residence. The girl looked around after waking up. She seemed to be curious about everything. When he saw the shells on the table, he picked them up and smelled them again and again. Jack tried to communicate with him, but the girl just stared at him strangely. At this time, the girl suddenly opened her mouth. An ancient and mysterious voice came out. Jack was instantly attracted by this wonderful song. Suddenly, a knock on the door interrupted the girl. Turned out that the doctor called. After the two entered the house, they found that the girl had disappeared. The girl hid in an abandoned boat and slept all night. After waking up, the girl seemed to be curious about her own feet. A mouse jumped down. The girl grabbed him. After a delicious meal, the girl looked around and walked on the street, seemingly looking for something. The girl stopped in front of a marine antique shop. The old man looked at the girl in front of him, and his expression gradually froze. He even became terrified at this time. Jack, who happened to pass by, found the girl when he crossed the road and came to the old man. The girl had disappeared. Jack immediately asked about the whereabouts of the girl, but the old man didn't say a word about the girl. Then he hurried into the house. The girl came to the dock here. He found a fishing boat named Polaris. He walked to the fishing net and squatted down. Then he closed his eyes and began to recall. It turned out that the girl was the legendary mermaid. Just because he and his sister were hunting in the deep sea, the sister was captured by the human fish king and finally disappeared. He then ventured ashore to look for his sister. He had no clue and could only look around by feeling. At this time, a toy plane on the roadside caught his attention. Thinking of this thing that took his sister away that night, he imitated the voice on TV and named himself Lon Ryan. He came to a man who was repairing a car. He took out the toy plane in his hand and motioned the man to help him find his sister. Then he got into the car. Looking at the silly Ryan, the man with bad intentions drove the car into the woods. Little did he know that this was the beginning of his nightmare. He was instantly kicked out of the window by the girl and received a box lunch on the spot. The girl took off her bloody coat. The skin on her arm had begun to fall off due to long-term dehydration. The girl's name was Ryan. He was the oldest creature in the ocean, the legendary mermaid. Just a few days ago, his sister was caught in a fishing net, and he didn't know where to go. So he ventured into the human world to find his sister. At this time, Ryan found that the pattern on the house in the distance was the same as that on his clothes. He went straight there. After entering the house, Ryan saw the fish milkshake on the table. He picked it up and drank it all. After a full meal, Ryan walked to the door. The seal that was performing suddenly roared, as if it saw its natural enemy. At this time, Jack, who returned to the studio, found Ryan. Ryan hurriedly ran into the house and looked at him with hostility. Jack slowly expressed his kindness to Ryan. Ryan then slowly calmed down. Jack told Ryan about the song Ryan hummed on the night they first met. That ancient and mysterious voice seemed to be possessed. It always lingered in his mind. Seeing the weak Ryan, Jack carefully checked his arm and told Ryan that he would find a doctor to help him check. But Ryan, who had not seen the doctor for a long time at this time, due to being out of the sea for a long time, his dry skin had fallen off in a large area. He was weak and saw the sea outside the window and struggled to crawl out. With the last bit of strength, he struggled to crawl to the water's edge and then dived into the sea. Under the nourishment of the seawater, Ryan began the painful transformation process. His palms gradually became upright, a fin grew on his back, and his legs turned into connective tissue and became a fishtail. In an instant, Ryan turned into a mermaid. Jack found something abnormal in the surveillance. He thought Ryan fell into the water, so he picked up a flashlight and dived into the sea. After transforming into a mermaid, Ryan's temperament changed drastically and he was extremely aggressive. Jack was attacked before he could figure out the situation. Ryan bumped into Jack and almost bit off Jack's neck during the fight. Jack tried his best to break free from Ryan and swam quickly to the surface of the water, but Ryan caught up with him. Jack was dragged underwater. In a hurry, Jack picked up the harpoon on the shore and repelled Ryan in a panic. He then successfully escaped from the water. Ryan's words surged into the depths of the sea. Panicked, Jack came to the antique shop of the old woman Helen. He told Helen about his experience just now. Because when Jack was a child, Helen often told him the story of mermaids. At this time, Jack was convinced that Helen knew everything. Helen saw what happened to Jack and told him everything. Helen told Jack that his family history in this town was bloodier than he knew. It turned out that hundreds of years ago, Jack's ancestors had discovered traces of mermaids in the deep sea. At that time, mermaids were still timid and extremely docile species. But Jack's ancestor lost his mind and regarded catching mermaids as an honor. He led the crew many times. Going out to sea and slaughtering mermaids crazily caused the mermaid race to almost become extinct. Later, the surviving mermaids gradually became bloodthirsty and cruel. Jack could not imagine what Helen said. Back in the car, Jack opened the mermaid storybook. Looking at the scene of the fishermen slaughtering mermaids in the book, Jack felt ashamed. The next day, Jack boarded the Polaris fishing boat. Because the crew had told Jack that they were attacked by mermaids, but Jack did not believe it at the time. The captain decided to go out to sea again to find mermaids. After Jack personally experienced various events, he believed in the existence of mermaids. At this time, Jack was worried that Ryan would be hurt, so he followed. After a long voyage, they came to an unknown sea. Suddenly, the radar showed that something was moving quickly. The captain immediately picked up the spear gun and came to the deck. I saw waves of water on the sea. The captain held up the spear gun was aimed at the sea. Jack was worried that Ryan was injured. In fact, he stretched out his hand and shot the spear. But Jack didn't know that Ryan was not in the sea. Just as the captain blamed Jack, a strange sound suddenly came from the sea. Jack thought Ryan was injured. He took off his clothes and dived into the sea. But Ryan was not seen underwater. At this time, Jack found that something behind the propeller was shining. Jack pulled it out with force. Aizen said that the sound made by the air was exactly the same as the sound made by the mermaid caught a few days ago. Later, the mermaid was forcibly taken away by the military. Then this thing appeared at the bottom of the boat. And this guy who looked like a monitoring device must be related to the military. The two said they would use this thing to find out the truth. Jack returned home and told his girlfriend Maddie about the matter. Maddie felt very shocked. I didn't expect the legend of mermaids to really exist. This completely overturned his cognition. Jack told Maddie that Helen in the town seemed to know more about mermaids. He wanted Helen to distinguish the sound made by the instrument and came to the antique shop. Jack showed lay to Helen and turned on the instrument directly. The sound instantly reached Ryan's ears. This sound turned out to be the scream of his sister when she was used as a research sample. Ryan turned the table over in anger and quickly appeared in front of several people. Ryan, who was extremely angry, grabbed everything and kept shouting his sister's name. Helen told Ryan that this was just a recording. Jack carefully turned off the instrument. Ryan raised the instrument angrily, but the seawater in the instrument spilled on Ryan's arm. Ryan's arm began to turn into a mermaid. Fortunately, there was not much seawater. The arm gradually returned to normal. Slowly, Ryan calmed down. Jack understood Ryan's purpose of going ashore and expressed his willingness to help him find his sister's way out. At this time, Ryan walked out directly with the instrument. In a mysterious base somewhere, Ryan's sister was locked in a closed container. The researchers forcibly extracted his eye drops and injected them into the paralyzed mice. The next day, the mice miraculously recovered. The bald doctor was extremely shocked. This biological DNA has such great potential. If this biological technology is applied to the military, what kind of existence will be created? In the medical room next door, his crewmate Chris was lying weakly on the bed. That night, after he was injured by the mermaid, the military took him and the mermaid to this mysterious base. Chris took the opportunity to get the nurse's mobile phone and sent a text message for help to his companion Aizen. After that, after receiving the text message, Aizen rushed into the room of his companion who was doing morning exercises. His companion happily greeted Aizen's family. It was not until he saw the text message that he realized the seriousness of the matter. Aizen called back. The other party's phone was turned off. The two found the owner of the phone based on the number. They immediately drove to the address. On the other side, the beauty Ryan was being examined by Jack. The results showed that Ryan's intelligence was different from that of ordinary people. Ryan, who was thin, weighed as much as 196 tons. His heart rate was also 5 times higher than that of humans. Even his conditioned reflexes were very strong. At this time, Ryan accepted Jack's examination like a docile sheep. Suddenly, Ryan stretched out his palm and gently stroked Jack's arm and looked at Jack affectionately. On the other side, after the two arrived at their destination, Aizen happened to see the nurse preparing to go out. The two followed quietly. The nurse stayed until dark. The soldiers arrived at the destination. Did they see the nurse enter the base guarded by soldiers? They wanted to follow and see clearly. At this time, 2 soldiers with guns ran towards them. The two were frightened and hurriedly turned around and fled from the base. The bald doctor received a call from the general. The general said that they received a facial demonstration message sent back from the device. They found the person who took the device instead of the official thirst quenching shown on the phone. The next day, Jack received a call from Aizen. He learned that Aizen and his team followed the nurse all the way to a military institution. Later, they were discovered and chased away by soldiers. The two of them are now guarding near the nurse's home. Jack told Ryan that his sister might be imprisoned in the same place as Chris. Anxious Ryan wanted to find his sister immediately. But at this time, Ryan had been out of the sea for several days. His skin had begun to fall off. Under Jack's strong persuasion, Ryan finally reluctantly agreed to stay, but it was dangerous to let Ryan stay here alone. So they had to take Ryan to Helen's house. Maddie asked Helen how long he could hold on like this. Helen said that everyone would hold on longer and longer each time they came ashore. Seeing the strong Ryan, Jack and the others left with peace of mind. Helen took Ryan into the room, took out a mysterious liquid and smeared it on Ryan's skin, and told Ryan that it would keep him out of the sea for a longer time. Ryan noticed something was wrong. He slowly opened the corner of Helen's clothes and looked at Helen in shock. Chris heard the horrible scream and quickly pulled out the needle and escaped in the chaos. In the corridor, he met a girl covered in blood. The girl seemed to be frightened. Chris thought the girl was also caught in the room, so he pulled her out to escape. She picked up the girl. The key in the girl's pocket found the location of the car. Finally, the access card on the girl's neck was used. The two escaped from the base. The next day, Jack found a Zong and the other two at the nurse's house. At this time, Maddie suggested going into the house to look for clues. After entering the house, Maddie found a photo of the nurse in the army. It turned out that the nurse was a military doctor. Jack said that the military must be doing some confidential experiments. At this time, a car stopped outside. Several people hid in a hurry. The two people who entered the house were looking for something like them. Jack thought that something must have happened to the nurse. He might not come back here. He said that they must return to the base to check. The doctor who returned to the base found a strange fishtail in the corridor. After he picked up the fishtail instantly turned into slag ash. At this time, the doctor felt that something was not good. The doctor entered the laboratory and found corpses everywhere in the house. His most proud assistant also died in the fish tank. Then the doctor immediately checked the surveillance and saw the truth. The mermaid in the video actually stood up. She knocked the staff out with her tail. The dark laboratory became his hunting ground. Only screams were heard in the room. When the soldiers arrived, the scene was already full of corpses. The staff had no intention of surviving. The mermaid had disappeared. Finally, in the corridor surveillance, he found that the mermaid in human form was walking out loud. At this time, he happened to run into the nurse who was going out. He asked the nurse to get a lunchbox on the spot and put on the nurse's clothes. Later, he met Chris and escaped from the base with him. At this time, Jack and the others did not know that their companions had escaped from the laboratory. They quietly came to the outside of the military base. Through the barbed wire, they found that the soldiers put something similar to a fruit belt on the car. They thought it was inside the person in the mask was Chris. The Asar people hurriedly followed him. At this time, Jack received a call. He learned that Ryan was getting weaker and weaker. Jack said that Aizen and the others would find Chris. They had to go back and send Ryan back to the sea. Looking at Ryan, who was about to return to the sea, Maddie gave him her beloved necklace. Jack gave Ryan a locator and told him that this thing could find his location. They would go to help him when he was in danger. Ryan looked at Jack with trust and asked him to wear the necklace. At this time, Jack's cell phone rang. It was Aizen and the others who found Chris. It turned out that Aizen and the others received a call from Chris not long after following the military vehicle. The weak Chris told him the location. The two hurriedly turned around and rushed to the destination. After hearing the news, Ryan insisted on finding his sister regardless of life and death. The general saw the messy laboratory on the ground in the military base. They could be living among US after going through so much hardship. Ryan finally found his sister. At this moment, the two sisters expressed their longing for each other by putting their palms together. The elder sister picked up the extremely weak Ryan and walked slowly towards the sea. Finally, the two sisters dived into the sea together. McDye and Jack arrived and watched. The two sisters returned to their own world. Both were reluctant to leave. A month later, Jack found the body of a female dragonfish not far from the coast. What surprised Jack was that dragonfish belonged to deep-sea fish, living more than 600 meters underwater all year round. How could his body suddenly be found near the coast? McDye joked that it might be driven away by mermaids. McDye then dissected the dragonfish. He found that the dragonfish lacked various enzymes in its digestive tract. The content was also abnormal. This meant that the dragonfish was starved to death. Jack felt that things were a bit weird. At this time, the tracker suddenly sounded the alarm. The two found that Ryan was approaching the land. Jack thought that Ryan must be what happened. They followed the tracker to the beach. McDye found a fishtail. He touched it lightly. The fishtail turned into ashes instantly. Jack also found another fishtail nearby. The tracker showed Ryan leaving the coast and entering the woods. McDye stayed to collect fishtail samples. Jack took the tracker and quickly went over. Ryan appeared cautiously in the woods at night. Ryan's sister followed closely behind. They came to the side of the court. Ryan picked up his clothes and put them on. Since his sister had been abused by humans before, he didn't want to contact humans again. He saw the necklace on his sister's neck. He angrily tore it off and threw it away. Ryan solemnly told his sister that only humans could help them now. Then he threw the clothes to his sister and ran away. After the lesson I wrote last time, the military helped the doctor design a new type of smart fish tank. The shell is more durable than before. The sample can be completely calmed with just a light press. Down at the same time, the military also asked the local government to allow fishermen to go out to sea without restrictions for a short period of time. They wanted to force the mermaid to show up in the end. The mermaid would be waiting for these cold cages. Jack and the others followed the locator to find them, but they did not find Ryan. On the way back, Maddie told the children about Ryan's return. After the two returned to the research center, they were surprised to find that Ryan had returned. Here Ryan introduced his sister to them. At this time Helen just arrived. I immediately asked Ryan why he returned to the shore. Ryan said that because of human overfishing. There was no food in the sea where they lived. They ventured ashore to find food at this time. The sister saw the dragon fish on the table, thinking that Jack had taken their food away. She became furious instantly. He grabbed Jack's neck. Ryan saw this and hurried forward to stop them. The two sisters wrestled with each other. Fortunately, Jack ignited. He pushed the light stick, which scared sister Ryan away. The hungry sister sneaked into the fish island warehouse. He pushed the lid open and picked up the raw fish and started to eat it. At this time, the staff on duty found him. Sister turned around. Her sharp eyes scared the man and made him want to escape. Sister jumped up and strangled the man's neck. The two fell to the ground together. The man pressed the alarm urgently. Sister was scared away by the alarm. Ryan told several people that his sister was abused by humans after being captured by humans. They drew his blood every day for experiments and took skin tissue from his body. So his sister hated humans very much. In order to prevent Sister Ryan from hurting innocent humans, Helen decided to look for him in person. The next day, Helen found Sister Ryan on the beach. He didn't want history to repeat itself. He didn't want the mermaid race to be massacred by humans again. He took Sister Ryan back to his residence. Helen told Sister Ryan that she would definitely help him. I am one of you. Just a few hours ago at a dinner party, Jack's mother introduced him to a marine biologist. Jack looked carefully. This person was exactly the scientist who worked for the military that Azang mentioned, the doctor, who was kept in the dark. Thought that Jack knew nothing about the military, but Jack deliberately revealed the matter to the doctor. Looked at Jack in disbelief, then wanted Jack to tell the location of the mermaid. Jack agreed to the doctor's request on the premise that the military stopped all actions to capture the mermaid in order to see the mermaid again. The doctor told Jack about the military plan. The doctor said that tonight a fully armed military ship would go to the place where the mermaid was captured last time. Location: they will use their right ears to lure out the mermaids, then use firepower to capture them. Jack feels that things are not going well. Could the tragedy of hundreds of years ago happen again? It wasn't long before the ancient mermaid song reached the doctor. The doctor quickly followed the sound and looked for it. Jack also went to the forest. Under a big tree deep in the forest, Sister Ryan came out. It turned out that he deliberately used his singing to lure the doctor here. The doctor walked over to apologize to him. What happened was not his intention at this time. Ryan appeared behind the doctor. The doctor was surprised that there was another one. Ryan grabbed the doctor with both hands and lifted him up. Then he fell heavily to the ground. Then he held his hands tightly. Doctor, just when the doctor was about to die, Jack told Ryan that only the doctor could stop this. Ryan let him go, but when the doctor called, the military responded that the action had already begun. The angry sister threw the doctor onto a tree. Then the two quickly disappeared into the woods to save her people. The sister came to the beach and dived into the sea after completing the task underwater. She quickly swam to the deep sea, and all this was seen by Azan. He immediately called Jack to inform him to set sail quickly. Ryan also came to the beach. Just when Ryan was about to enter the sea, a Fobril appeared behind him. When Ryan was taken to the police station for interrogation, the sheriff walked in. The sheriff asked Ryan directly about the body of the man in the woods. Ryan, who would not lie, told the sheriff everything. But the sheriff thought Ryan was so weak that it was impossible for him to kill an adult man and kick him out of the car. The sheriff asked Ryan if anyone helped him. But Ryan misunderstood and told Jack and Maddie The sheriff was surprised and called his daughter Maddie to the police station. Maddie saw that the matter had come to this point and could no longer be concealed. So she told the sheriff's father the whole story. Maddie then sprinkled the seawater from the fish tank on Ryan's hand. After Chief Ryan touched the seawater, he began to transform instantly. The sheriff watched all this in great shock. The men arrived at the location where the mermaid was captured last time. They found a ship drifting on the sea. Several people took spear guns and boarded. There was no one on the deck. They found guns and blood on the deck. Just as they looked around, a long hair suddenly stuck out of the sea. Then another one. A creature jumped from the sea to the boat. Turned out to be a male mermaid. The male mermaid with fierce eyes approached Jack step by step. At the critical moment, Azong fired a shot to scare him. Another shot forced him into the cabin. Suddenly, a strange sound came from the deck. Sister Ryan stared at Chris ghostly. Chris dropped his weapon as if hypnotized. North Korea at the critical moment. His companion fired a signal gun. Jack pulled Chris back at this time. Sister Ryan held a spear and rushed towards the two of them with a fierce look. Jack pressed the winch button in time. Sister Ryan was knocked into the sea by the fishing net. Then Azin and Jack came to the cabin with weapons to look for the male mermaid, found a mermaid tail that had fallen off. The mermaid was gone at this time. The captain in the cabin suddenly felt a chill on his back. Azin heard his father scream and hurried over to the deck and shot the male mermaid in the end. He could only watch him escape into the sea. Looking at his dying father, Azin didn't have time to ask the bank card password. The father then took the machine and absorbed it. At this time, Azin blamed all the causes and consequences on the mermaid. Azin was extremely sad when he saw his father's body. But they couldn't just transport his father's body back. They couldn't explain his father's death to people because no one would believe their reasons. Instead, they would be imprisoned. Azin could only suppress his grief and leave his father's body in the sea. He then told Jack and the other two that his father was entangled in a fishing net and drowned. The next day, Maddie told Ryan what happened last night. Ryan felt extremely ashamed. He found the depressed Azin. Ryan felt very guilty for the death of Azin's father. At this time, Azin seemed to notice he felt something. He thought Ryan was not that serious. He wanted to catch up and ask for clarification. At this time, Jack stopped Azin and told him everything. Azin was furious when he knew the truth. He hated the mermaid race. He went back home and took up his weapon to seek revenge on Ryan. A little Teddy was retreating wildly towards the water on the beach. It seemed that there was something terrible in the water. The owner of Teddy stretched his head to look at the sea but found nothing. When they left, 3 shadows flashed in the water. Not long after, 3 mermaids were seen in pain on a remote beach. Then the mermaid who turned into a human happened to encountering humans who came to give skin. It turns out that the long-haired mermaid is the leader of the underwater tribe. This time he went ashore in person just for Ryan. Ryan's sister brought the leader to Helen's antique shop. Helen noticed something strange and became nervous. Ryan's sister wanted to know her sister's location. Seeing that Helen didn't answer for a long time, the male mermaid pressed Helen against the wall. The leader didn't want to alarm the humans and had to leave temporarily. Helen, who was still frightened, immediately notified Jack. After Ryan learned the news, in order to avoid innocent humans from getting hurt, he decided to meet the leader. Ryan knew where his sister would find him. Ryan returned to the center of the ocean and found that the leader was waiting for him there. Ryan saw the leader floating up and down. He lowered his head, but the leader was murderous towards Ryan. Ryan's sister, who had been kept in the dark, finally understood. It turned out that the leader came here not to take Ryan back, but to kill him. The brave sister blocked Ryan behind her. The battle was about to break out. Jack, who was smart, picked up a basin of seawater and rushed towards him. Several people were in pain after coming into contact with the seawater. Because once a mermaid comes into contact with seawater, it will instinctively begin to transform. This process is like the pain of a bent star. Jack took the opportunity to drive away with the 2 sisters. After arriving at a safe place, Jack felt that things were not that simple. Why did the leader want to kill Ryan? Ryan told Jack that there is an ancient legend among the mermaid race. Hundreds of years ago, a member of their tribe stayed with a human for a long time. Later, they developed feelings for each other and gave birth to a child. However, the child did not look normal. His tribe took the child away from the man. They took the child to the woods and killed him. Later, the tribe returned to the sea. The man who lost his beloved son was full of hatred. He led many humans to the sea to take revenge on the United States and Britain. The massacre almost made the mermaid race completely extinct. They were worried that the tragedy would happen to Ryan. That's why the leader went ashore and killed Ryan himself. The sheriff was patrolling the street at night. Suddenly, two people with strange expressions appeared in front of him. They were mermaids. The leader and his tribe were full of fear. The sheriff, who felt something was wrong, immediately called for support. At this time, the male mermaid suddenly jumped onto the police car and rushed towards the closed circuit. The leader came over and punched the glass. At the critical moment, the sheriff picked up a pistol and fought back. The two were frightened and fled. The sheriff immediately drove after the male mermaid. Then the sheriff shook his head and knocked the male mermaid unconscious. At this time, Maddie, who was sitting in front of the walkie-talkie, told Jack about the mermaid's whereabouts. The angry Azen wanted to avenge his father. He then turned around and rushed to the destination. Just as the sheriff was on his way back to the police station, the male mermaid suddenly woke up. He madly hit the wire fence with his head. The police car lost control and crashed into the car on the side of the road. Waiting for the police when the chief woke up, the male mermaid had disappeared. The sheriff picked up his gun and walked towards the street vigilantly. Ryan came to the street and made a strange sound. The leader not far away was attracted. Azen and his men were ready to ambush the mermaid. The leader followed the sound. The leader suddenly found the police hiding in the dark. He held Ryan against his body and quickly fled into the darkness. Jack and his men quickly chased after him. Ryan was pushed into the warehouse by the chief. The chief threw Ryan to the ground. Jack and his men came and quickly joined the battle. At this time, Azen arrived at the scene. Just as Azen was about to shoot, he was attacked by the male mermaid above his head and fell to the ground. Ryan saw this and picked up the boat nest, and the male mermaid Azen took the opportunity to shoot at the mermaid. The mermaid, who was afraid of the gunshot, fled in panic. Then the two broke into Helen's antique shop. They were ready to pick up weapons to fight back against Jack. Several people were looking around on the street. Suddenly, a long hair flew over and almost sent Jack away. The leader's attack failed and he quickly left the scene. Ryan followed closely. The leader, hiding in the dark, suddenly attacked Ryan. Ryan was knocked to the ground. The angry Ryan began to fight back. Ryan found the right opportunity to knock the leader to the ground. He immediately used his unique skills to give me back my voting rights. In the end, the leader surrendered. He was completely defeated by Ryan. Jack, who was walking on the street, encountered a male mermaid. When Jack fired, he found that he had run out of bullets. The male mermaid threw Jack away. Just when Jack was about to die, Ryan appeared with the defeated leader. The male mermaid slowly walked towards Ryan and knelt down in submission. It turned out that the mermaid tribe was a matriarchal society. Ryan defeated the leader. He has now become the new leader. At this time, Azen rushed over with a gun. The angry Azen wanted to avenge his father. Jack rushed towards Azang to stop the two from fighting. But the bullet hit Sister Ryan. In the end, Sister Ryan died. The next day, under the leadership of Helen, everyone brought Sister Ryan's body to a mysterious island. Helen said that this place it would be the best destination for Ryan's sister. It turns out that the deformed child born by the mermaid and the human in the legend did not die. Instead, he was adopted by a local doctor. And that child is the ancestor of Helen. All the people buried here are the descendants of mermaids. In the end, Ryan chose to bury his sister here. After experiencing all this, Ryan's heart was filled with sadness. All of this was caused by him. In order to stop hurting the people around him, Ryan chose to leave quietly. Can his departure really bring peace to the mermaids and humans? Aizen's companions were drinking alone in the bar. His girlfriend despised him for not making money and kept scolding him in front of him. He raised his head and said, "Is it true that I can't make money?" Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to stay informed with more insightful content across a wide range of topics, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to Wide Scope, and ring the notification bell so you never miss an update. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you have any suggestions to improve our videos, we'd love to hear from you. Share this video with friends, and stay tuned for more valuable content. See you in the next one.